Welcome back, folks. This is Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 242, Foolish Survivor Flying High. And nobody is flying higher than me right now, folks. My joy is unparalleled. This may not be One Piece, but I might as well be Joy Boy. If you couldn't tell, I very much loved this chapter. I'm not even waiting for the end. 10 out of 10. No, 11 out of 10. This is my favorite chapter in the whole fucking series. No joke, this could be one of my favorite manga chapters ever. This has, at the very least, cleared every fight in the series up until this point so far to me. And it's not even over by the end of the chapter. So enough lollygagging, let's jump right into this masterpiece. We begin in media res as Kenjaku summons a special grade cursed spirit called Akuro o Otake, which seems to be a portmanteau of the names of two rebellious demons from Japanese mythology. But this poor fella is immediately smashed to bits by a surprise truck-kun, thanks to Takaba's curse technique, which will essentially be the explanation for literally everything that happens this chapter, so just keep that in mind. There probably won't be too much or any at all highbrow analysis this chapter, and more just me describing what's happening, because honestly, I don't know what else I could do, and I love that. We then see it was Takaba that was driving Truck-kun as he chastises Kenjaku for jumping out in the middle of the road like that, to which Kenjaku rebuts that it was entirely his fault, before we then see Kenjaku dressed in a police uniform approaching the truck with other police officers, asking if Takaba has been drinking and driving. He tells Takaba that he needs to take a breathalyzer test, telling him to breathe into this plastic bag containing a goldfish, saying that if the goldfish dies, he will be under arrest. But Takaba notes that it already appears quite dead. We then see Takaba and Kenjaku dressed as doctors rushing the goldfish through the halls of a hospital on a gurney. I just have to say, like, it's one thing seeing Takaba do this, you know, this is like normal Takaba behavior, but I swear, seeing Kenjaku do such goofy shit and say things like, "Can you hear me, fishy? You're in the hospital," so genuinely, how could you describe this as anything but perfect? Takaba then uses a stethoscope and notes that the goldfish's current level of consciousness is that of Final Fantasy VII, as Kenjaku prepares the defibrillator, but rather than using it on the goldfish, he instead attacks Takaba with it. Next we see the goldfish flatlining as all that's left of it is its skeleton, as Kenjaku and Takaba regretfully mourn about being too late, with Takaba saying that even modern medicine has its limits. Takaba then says that he's depressed and tells Kenjaku, who is now a nurse, to go get nurses to fawn over him so he'll feel better. However, Kenjaku refuses. In response, Takaba starts swinging his stethoscope wildly at Kenjaku, who is blocking and dodging. Then Takaba yells at him, asking if that's any way to treat someone who's bummed out. However, Kenjaku states that he doesn't seem bummed out at all. To settle things, Takaba challenges Kenjaku to a game of rock, paper, scissors. But before they break out into this lovely little song and dance routine, before they both stick their fingers in each other's noses. Main villain of the series, by the way. After this, we briefly get a glimpse of Kenjaku's thoughts as he's trying to analyze Takaba's curse technique. He notes that his technique doesn't only manifest things in response to his own imagination, but also factors in Kenjaku's thoughts as a form of feedback, claiming it's something akin to soul resonance. Soul resonance? Soul Eater reference? Suddenly, Takaba and Kenjaku are participants in a game show as they ready to hear the first question. They share some words, Takaba telling Kenjaku not to expect him to play dumb and answer wrong on purpose, which Kenjaku wholeheartedly supports, saying he hates fools who play the fool. The host starts asking the first question and Kenjaku buzzes in before he finishes talking, thinking he already knows the answer, which the host says that technically he's right, but there was more to the question, so actually he's wrong. Takaba calls him stupid, saying he should have been prepared for a fake-out. But the following question is, in particle physics and nuclear physics, what is the term for a group of subatomic particles held together by the strong interaction? And Takaba just has no idea what any of those words mean. But Kenjaku, the ancient scholar that he is, immediately answers correctly with Hadron, even though, as Takaba says, he had already buzzed in. Kenjaku then taunts Takaba, saying that his dad was an eye doctor, which Takaba responds asking what's the problem with that, and then he curses the name of Yoshiharu Tsuge, an old surrealist Japanese comic artist. I'm gonna be honest, there's probably some underlying joke here I'm not picking up on because it's probably only makes sense to native Japanese speakers, because that whole exchange just went over my head, so if you can explain that to me, please do so. But for the second question, Kenjaku and Takaba are presented with two doors. One labeled self-recommendation and one labeled designated school recommendation. And they ask which is harder to say to someone. They both sprint off ahead, Kenjaku stating that it's easily going to be his win, which he is then chastised by the host. But during this, Takaba stops as he hears someone calling for help, as he sees a black cat crossing the street and about to be hit by a car. Takaba rushes to save the cat before it's revealed that it was actually Kenjaku in disguise, and Takaba is hit instead, rolling off. Kenjaku then notices a drowning cat, which we can see is just Takaba with cat ears and whiskers, so he hurriedly surfs on a wave towards the cat in order to rescue it, when we see Takaba, who is still in his cat getup, following close behind him on a jet ski, before crashing into him, claiming it as revenge. Water splashes on Kenjaku as it seems like he's about to get angry, before instead we see the two of them playfully splashing each other in the light of the sunset. Oh, to be young and in love. Kenjaku begins internally monologuing, talking about how this is the most fun that he's had in centuries, and even saying that this alone has made the Culling games entirely worth it, before grabbing Takaba's head and shoving him under the water. But Takaba is surprised, telling Kenjaku to stop and taste the water, which they both in unison realize is instead Fanta. Kenjaku continues thinking, feeling that at this rate there's no chance he can win this. As for Takaba, everything that's happening is just a fun little illusion, but Kenjaku is seriously getting hurt over time. So he surmises that in order to win this fight, he'll have to win it in the realm of comedy. That's when we then see Takaba and Kenjaku dressed in suits as they get ready to perform a comedy duo routine on a stage in front of an audience of hundreds, bringing this absolute masterpiece to a close. Sorry, I just need to sit down a second. Wasn't that just the best fucking thing ever? I feel Kenjaku here, man, because I too have not had this much fun in centuries. I feel like this review is going to be really short. I don't really know what else there is to talk about, though, aside from this just feeling like a Bobobo chapter in a Jujutsu Kaisen disguise. It's quite possibly the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Though, if I have to be honest, I'm sure next chapter is going to end up being our going away party for Takaba, so to speak. I mean, if they perform a fun comedy routine with each other, which remember last chapter, one of Takaba's desires was to make it work with a partner. And if anyone can do that with him, it's Kenjaku. Because even Takaba noted how knowledgeable he is about comedy. I don't know. Honestly, if he does kick the bucket, I don't even think I could be mad about it, except for the fact that we'd never get to see this technique used in the story again. Because I'm being honest, this is my favorite fight in this whole series. Well, I guess that's it, folks. Let me know what you thought about this crazy-ass chapter in the comments below. Be sure to like the video if you're still here, and subscribe if you want to see just how goofy this shit gets from here on out. That's all for now. I hope you have a lovely day. Bye! What the fuck?